AP, all of them are in there. What I'm about to read you, okay? Lavon Affair. Guys, will you pull up the Lavon Affair off here and show people the last of the bibliography, pages 5 and 6. I want to show them Reuters and AP and all that. It's on there. Thank you. Just people watching at prisonplanet.tv. Radio listeners, just take notes, look it up. Because you know, I was just supposed to when they have a new terror attack and right when they want to pass a treaty during Obama's campaign, and now he's using it and going to the scene to look like a great guy and get a 10-point bump in the polls. Bill Clinton said he owed his re-election to the Oklahoma City bombing. I've been predicting this would happen. It has all the earmarks we haven't even gotten to yet. We are sitting here watching this unfold. And I'm just supposed to immediately go, oh, no, I'm sure it really is a lone guy in a big secretive advanced brain interface program, a guy that was top of his class and called a brilliant science scholar. And then he suddenly goes crazy and sure. And he's on welfare the last 6 months. Nobody sees him. They've got the nice apartment. It's all done. Mail order. Perfect way to set him up, just like Lee Harvey Oswald. Let me continue here. Lavon Affair. Oh, yeah, there it is. Ynet News out of Israel. Oh, yeah, they have the, in the bibliography, I was just showing you guys, it's the Israeli universities admit this. Let me read to you from that. The Lavon Affair refers to a failed Israeli covert operation codenamed Operation Susanna, conducted in Egypt in the summer of '54 as part of a false flag operation, that's staged terror, frame up. A group of Egyptian Jews were recruited by Israeli military intelligence for plans to plant bombs inside Egyptian, American, and British-owned targets. The attacks were to be blamed on the Muslim Brotherhood, Egyptian communists, and unspecified malcontents or local nationalists. Yeah, that was the main target. They go on to admit because the U.S. was about to put pro-free market nationalists in and be friends, and Israel was like, that's not part of the plan. We're going to put troublemakers in like they always do. Continuing. Oh, Israel admits they created Hamas. I'm not being anti-Israel. Just it's in the Jerusalem Post. They created Hamas 1973. Don't believe me? Look it up. Just type Israel created Hamas. Jerusalem Post, you name it. Just do that for everybody since they're watching. A lot of radio listeners will go check it out for themselves. Let me continue here. The attacks were to be blamed on the Muslim Brotherhood, Egyptian communists, unspecified malcontents, or local nationalists with the aim of creating a climate sufficient violence and instability to induce the British government to retain its occupying troops in Egypt's Suez Canal. The operation caused no casualty except for those members of the cell who committed suicide after being captured. Israel has admitted that, indeed, they staged this. Now, my point is, what were the targets to be? This is one we know about because the operation got blown. They were going to attack bars and movie theaters, killing U.S. citizens in U.S. neighborhoods and churches. But they want a UN treaty and all this, and then I'm sure it was a lone guy. Yeah, I'm sure. And again, you should go read the long bibliography on this so you can see it for yourself. JewishVirtualLibrary.org, Reuters, again, Columbia University. That's where this comes from. Reuters, March 30th, 2005. Israel honored the 9 Egyptian spies that did it. YNetNews.com. We just showed you that. You want me to continue? You know what? I think I am. I'm gonna show you some other governments and then our government, and I'm going to show you the current Army manual where they teach commanders how to stage terror attacks. You want to see that? We'll cover it when we get back. I'm Alex Jones, risking my life to defend the Republic and our Second Amendment. Toll-free number to give us your take on this, especially if you live in Colorado or if you were a witness or lost any family. Our prayers go out to you. 877-789-ALEX. I know we're on a couple stations on Sunday there in Colorado, including one that goes into Denver. 877-789-ALEX or 877-789-2539 is the number to join us. Now, look, here's the deal. There's always a lot of telltale signs that come out. There are some real mass shootings, but they're never at numbers of 50-something shot and 12 dead. Or while they were saying 14 dead and 71 injured. Still, I don't have time to go into it today, but if you go research Columbine, total false flag, multiple shooters, 127 bombs inside, half the school empty that day. Police stood down 5 hours. I've talked to the police involved. Stage deal. Stage deal. Department of Defense, globalists involved. That school was a test school where they first had all sorts of weird death education. See, I'm already getting off into it. The point is that what I really look at here is how out of the gates the police never say anything, how they apprehended him. He didn't shoot at cops. The fact that he kills all these people and then disappears and this happens. He's wearing a mask. The Russian government staged some attacks on theaters and a school, and the real guys with masks go out, and then they kill a few patsies or have a drugged up patsy. And there's even U.S. government documents that describe how to do this. I'm going to get to those here in just a moment. But the point is just then he's in this weird Department of Defense funded brain research lab, the Department of neuroscience there at the big university, top PhD scientist. You've got the big treaty, the UN treaty coming up, the timing. You've got how the media hyped on it perfectly. Minute one, all the calls to restrict our guns. When it's not a staged event, they don't do that. You can see the tailoring. You can see the PR. You can see the jumping the gun like we saw on 9/11 where they announced Building 7 had fallen an hour before it fell and then 25 minutes before it fell. Kind of like newspapers were already publishing Lee Harvey Oswald before he'd been arrested because they got the time zones screwed up in Australia, New Zealand, and other areas. You see, they've got to get their fake story out, but sometimes they jump the gun and somebody pulls the trigger a little too early, and so you get caught with your pants down. Again, the goal, get our guns. This is about UN global governance takeover. They're telling us on the news we're run by foreign banks now. Here's an article we did back in 2002. U.S. government plans sniper attacks. And it goes on from there. Here's ABC News on it in 2001. U.S. military wanted to provoke war with Cuba. This is ABC News. In the early 1960s, America's top military leaders reportedly drafted plans to kill innocent people and commit acts of terrorism in the U.S. cities to create public support for war against Cuba and then the Soviet Union. Bombing D.C., Maryland, Florida, Miami, and shooting people, and then even how to frame patsies. Again, this is ABC News right over here. You just type in Operation Northwoods, and you will get it. Again, U.S. military wanted to provoke war with Cuba, because we were just showing you our article dealing with some other developments. Here is the ABC News article. I'm going to lay it right here so people can see that if you're watching at prisonplanet.tv. Again, if you're a radio listener, just search Operation Northwoods right here. Now, again, we're going to show you that ABC News article. Absolutely essential to show people this article right here. Now, continuing, Operation Northwoods, it's only, I don't know how many pages long this thing is, like 14 pages long. Just, let me show the camera, guys. Is this right here? I'm going to lay it right here on top of the keyboard. Right here. That's it, right there. Okay, and then I'll put the documents right there. I understand you were shooting over here. I was showing documents over here. We're going to show them right here. All right, because people will say it isn't real. I got to show them ABC News here. Okay, Operation Northwoods, a memorandum for the Secretary of Defense. This was green-lighted all the way up to Kennedy, who said no, and you know they killed him right after he refused to be part of that. Here it is, declassified. Wow, imagine what they're not declassifying, and how to shoot people out in the street, how to even attack U.S. military bases, and then how to frame patsies, drugged up mental patients. Okay, so again, I would be crazy when I see this stuff happen to not immediately go, okay, who has a motive? Take our liberties, take our freedoms. Who's been caught staging things before? Are they very close to passing something that's very unconstitutional, signing us under the UN? And then you just keep adding and adding. I mean, I'm virtually certain it was staged, or bare minimum, he was provocateur. Just type in FBI fake terrorist. You'll get Reuters, AP, London Guardian, New York Times, the Atlantic Monthly, where they go out and find mentally ill people and get them to talk about blowing something up and then have a big terror alert on the news like they're doing something. It's not entrapment. It's beyond that. They get welfare people, mentally ill, you name it. But here is Operation Northwoods. Okay, continuing. Operation Gladio. Already mentioned this. U.S. government staging terror attacks all over Europe. NATO doing it. A lot of this has been declassified by the Italian, French, and German governments. Again, nothing against the general military in the U.S., nothing against the Germans or the French. People spin it and say, you're saying the French are terrorists. No, not I'm saying that it's declassified in their countries. Okay? It's been declassified that NATO, the U.S., and their governments would shoot up school buses, movie theaters, train stations, bus stations. Kids are their favorite because then they would demonize their political opposition with that information. Look up Operation Gladio. Point is, this stuff goes on. Look up what a false flag is. Now, here it is, flashback. U.S. counterinsurgency manual leaked, calls for false flag operations, suspension of human rights. This is an Army manual that got leaked by WikiLeaks. Last time they know it was used was in 2004. It's the manual, foreign internal defense tactics, techniques and procedures for special forces. And it goes over, if you're outnumbered, how do you get the indigenous to turn to your side? You commit an atrocity, blame it on the enemy. That's called a force multiplier. Your globalists have taken over the U.S. You see yourself as guerrilla warriors because you know the general public it doesn't support you. You stage terror attacks, pose as saviors, and use it to convert the society to a police state. So again, you can link through at our article on that to WikiLeaks, and they have charged Manning and others. They're trying to charge Assange. They admit this is a real document, highly classified, and they're very upset this is public. Yeah, I'd say so. Okay, how to stage terror attacks and blame it on your political enemies. Okay, now you understand why they protected Hassan for 2 years while a lackey who was under Pentagon control was controlling him, and why they declared national security on his emails and phone calls. That was a case of another psychiatrist. Oh, they're always in the psychiatric area or they're always in the neurological brain research, just like our little scientist, James Holmes. Theodore Kaczynski, L.A. Times, CIA mind control program. When he was in the brain interface studies back in the 60s and 70s. Look it up. Oh, let's not forget the USS Liberty. I've interviewed the admirals involved, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. 1967, they want to get a war going with Egypt. The Israelis got caught with the Lavon affair. So for hours, they attacked the ship. It wouldn't sink. The Israeli pilots have gone public. They knew it was a U.S. ship. They get on there's aircraft carriers just 100 miles away with jets. They're firing jets off to go stop it. McNamara says, do not defend that ship. President's orders. They said, we're going to defend it. It's international waters. It's under attack. And the president came on the line. I've interviewed the Admiral Moore before he died, about a year before he died. I've interviewed them all. And, I mean, I've talked to the people who were there when LBJ came on in the command center at the Fleet Command on the aircraft carrier and said, that ship's going to the bottom. You recall those aircraft, but the Israelis couldn't sink the ship. It's the most highly decorated ship in U.S. history. It was to be sunk. Harrowing tales, like they were like a bunch of, like the captain, a bunch of others had their intestines tied into them, and the ship was under attack, burning for 10 hours, under attack for about 4 hours. Torpedo boats, strafing, everything else. That those darn Egyptians sank our ship. We'll show them. It's called a gambit, where you sacrifice a pawn. This is an old military tactic where you send in 1,000 troops to get them killed, to bring out the enemy. The argument is you